Welcome to my comment on
The Book of Azazel, Grimoire the Damned by E.A. Koetting.
and I'll start by sharing some of the symbols involved, and I've color-coded them as I often do. Gate 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, I believe that's the order. And here are the rest of the symbols involved. Yeah, some of my diary entries in the middle of that, but you can tell which one's which. All 33 that are contained in the book. Use them how you will. I don't recommend some uses, definitely, and you're maybe aware of that, but there are the symbols involved, and let me start with the main section here of and it begins with the foreword. My Dante Abiel are under pike. Black magic isn't guaranteed to fulfill the desires of the practitioner, but it can certainly create more gaps in a life that a person will attempt to fill. Is that salvation? What is the grimoire Dante Abiel or Andrew Pike saw the symbol of Azazel in? Is Al-Quran 42:45 right that the real hell realms would be humbling and the real losers are lost souls with families in loss? Or should we pursue rituals that might put us in a lake of fire beyond imagination? Dante Abiel was certainly right that Azazel and other demons might be there even before the formal ritual of worship has begun. Andrew Pike was to make a pact, a possession for 9 days with a spirit that told him an incantation with no known meaning. Ta sh a ta sh la a. So the abbreviation TSHATSHLA, and I believe that's one of the ones you can find on their page, this meaningless conjurations for power or whatever, seem to have great satanic power. He answered that calling to practice, whispering it till he was sick to the point of throwing up, as the legions of this great entity that shook his hand with a hand like stone earlier. Should we answer another call before it's too late, as Al-Quran 42:47 says? Dante Abiel received a prophecy from Azazel that he would go through 9 days of hell and face his fears. He saw the chair of majesty, which was the throne Azazel sat upon. What Azazel said next leads one to ask, how can it be a birthright to learn something after much time and hard work? Why would rising to spiritual power Why would most rising to spiritual power turn to drug abuse? Dante Abiel spoke of the extremely deadly level of tolerance to opiates that he developed to cope with the process. Is Al-Quran 43:36-39 right?
and that the way to having a demon companion starts with forgetfulness of God, continues with confusion about being guided, but that they will want these Qareen companions to be far from them when it comes time for both to be punished. Azazel told him that his 3-year addiction would soon come to an end. The next day, his wife wanted to know about what changed and wanted to leave him upon finding out. Azazel laughed at him and told him of his diminished power with this attachment to drugs. Dante Abiel found his purpose in trying to rise above
the throne of glory.
Oh, maybe they're referring to the throne of glory. In the way of Isaiah 14:12-17. The Greek references to Phaethon and the Venusian myths, Apatana, Ishar, and Inanna. Dante Abiel claimed not to want any opium or its derivatives as he withdrawed, because he was possessed by Azazel. After 2 days he turned to worshipping Raphael to be healed. But he was told by an unpleasantly loud and bright thing that the angels of glory could not help, and to accept the guidance of what was already with him. Al-Quran 43:62 teaches that Satan is our enemy that tries to hinder us from religion. He followed the whispers that told him to worship that being that faded away like a man with a crow's head. After the 9 days, he thought to exercise Azazel. After that, Matthew Lawrence called Andrew Pike. It turns out Koetting and Dante Abiel were having comparable spiritual experiences. And if people are studying the same thing, you kind of would expect, oh yeah, I have a friend, he prefers this passage, even go to the same church. Anyways. Eric Arcalus Koetting was supposedly told to write of the demon's teachings and wanted Dante Abiel's experiential opinion of the draft. The workings to be practiced was to be done after a
crooked baptism involving Azazel, Belial, Abaddon, and Omemon.
It took between 9 to 13 days to feel the power of manifesting. After an apparently unsuccessful self-exorcism, and a few days without sleep, he passed out and saw the demon in a circle of 9
black candles
around his bed take him to a
lake of fire.
Before he knew what was happening, he was preparing for ritual, and his wife was giving him an ultimatum. His wife, son, brother, and cousin decided to join, and that's seeking damnation by giving up a sense of sacredness, or whatever it was that left Dante Abiel so motivated. His Al-Quran 44:19-22 writes that we should accept Prophet Muhammad's authority as messenger of God and be humble instead of being one of the aimless? He already told us how his desires were endless. They needed to look inside themselves, but they went 4 miles away into the forest to renounce the kingdom of heaven and affirm
The serpents of the pit.
their magical diagram was a large hexagram with a triangle of manifestation for each in the corners near that. 12 candles were around the smaller triangles, and 6 black. 12 red candles were around the smaller triangles, and 6 black candles were at the points of the overlapping triangles. Did
Belial.
really possess Dante Abiel? He finished with,
Abaddon.
but each person was to accept possession with the madness and appearance of demons that went with it. In an extremely painful moment that seemed to last forever, he perceived himself
In hell.
with horrible creatures. His knights of the ritual stood by, waiting in hopelessness. He read in a book that they're about how overall sound forms. Oh, that there was a point without returning from. Were the demons there to do his will? Andrew Pike abandoned the Become a Living God crew and renounced belief in that path. I do not know beyond that what beliefs and practices were repented of. Will you be damned to be saved, or be saved from being damned in the end? The meeting. To Koetting, spirituality centers on evoking entities to manifest as desired and gaining awareness of places that are not physical. Evocation was deemed to be about the external, and soul travel was going to inner psychic realms. He thought to never give up control in his practices, but has experienced beyond the psychic worlds that way. Azazel and 3 or 4 others were the only out of hundreds that were not only like the grimoires, but much more so. He and his wife, Sean, went from southern Utah to the Colorado Rocky Mountains to meet with 50 other
Evil magicians.
all the variety of music. On their ride home could not shake how utterly different his student was when she was possessed. Sean wanted to have the words of the demons be spoken through her at the next Bing ritual, but it would have to be
Belial.
based on her prior experience in that regard. Some of this story is told on HTTPS www.youtube.com/watch question V equals 1KFQCY. Is that a 0 or OMQKO? September 6th, 2007, E.A. Koetting evoked Belial for answers about how to bring this forth, and Sean Belial spoke of how a chant that should probably be Yitzharicha Belial R. It comes in the stronghold of without a master, in from on high to worthless wicked is another way to translate Belial. Blood on Sean, and no one present was allowed to not be an active participant. September 11th, 2007 was when
A Maimon
was evoked for clarification. Visualization was not constant, but there was a voice throughout. The lords of the House of 70s, probably related to some politics of Moses' quorum of the 70. And the Saturnalia bit was explained by standard Scorpio symbolism. Semen and blood on bare skin, and mimicking the 5 wounds of Christ, were required to summon this archdemon of far more than 40 legions into the east. For some reason, the archangels were to be summoned too, worshipping Raphael, Michael, Gabriel, Ariel. And Ariel would be shirking from the monotheism, the omnipotent, omnipresent, omniscient God commands. More were joining in and being directed by the ritual and demonic commands rather than taking active control. I haven't symbolized his versions of this. I guess I'll, that would be the thumbnail of the, oh wait, no, it's the Maimon and Belial and Abaddon and Azazel. You know, the one I have on my wall, and it also represents a renunciation. These symbols, if they represent control, it can also mean to banish and to, you know, be in control of those issues of yourself. The Maimon one is kind of like, you know, it's a tent, so you got your prayer house and you got your creed represented by the cross in between. The cross represents more than Christian things, I suppose. Gaop, or is it Gaop, is, you know, this symbol with bowls. I guess that could mean charity, and the war, you know, the sphere-like symbols, so, you know, the fighting, that could be also represented in the whole thing. And in the West, caution, you got the symbol that's like a moon. So, you know, this is your, you can say you're fasting because you're drawn out, and it's determined by one waxing moon to another waxing moon. And the twirling patterns could be a symbol for pilgrimage. So that's, but his are different. More were joining in and being directed by the ritual and demonic commands rather than taking active control. Azazel was summoned to clarify the matter 4 days later. IRIRA was the chant.
I'm abbreviating. I'm not giving you the fine details of the ritual and the incantations. If you feel like buying his book to get that, whatever, that's your choice. But I'm just showing the outline of how things worked. These were another set of words that resembles Yitzral, are press, distressed, straightened, vexed, framed, purposed, fashioned, narrowed, of God. John, Dawn, and Cody were to be the knights in the ritual. Cody was supposedly involved in a series of secret societies. Yes, because when people are involved in secret societies, they're always telling everybody about it. Matthew Lawrence was particularly impressed with him. Was he the Cody he was to live with for years? And last we heard, there's this. Well, people assume it's a woman. I'm not sure, considering after reading this book, I thought it was just a really homely-looking woman that was attractive with, different people. But could be why he's speaking for transgenders, because person's a cross-dresser or whatever it is. Maybe not. I don't mean any insult, Cody Elder, if that's the case. I'm just, there's a good reason for that, to think things. On September 18th, 2007, Abaddon was evoked, and a message of preparing to go to the
Lake of fire
with the rest of the impure was received. The archangel seals were to be destroyed, and more along the spirit of using fire as a medium mentioned in https www.youtube.com/watch question v equals rkp underline sbdqttg were part of the process. The initial plan was for it to just be a married couple in their secret demonolatry. The basement of a Salt Lake City, Utah New Age bookstore was to be the place for the ritual. He's given speeches or presentations there before. He may have put a stop to this after his YouTube got more popular, I don't know. A man covered with tattoos was recently released after a prison sentence for a violent crime, and he would be the tiller or blackguard to keep people from leaving or entering the ceremony. The basement filled with 30 or more aside from the 5 running the show. The elixir of manifestation included bat blood instead of rat blood, and blood from all present instead of just one. The triangle of manifestation was placed in each quadrant of the circle, with Latin chants, cups, using the elixir to mark the forehead of all, something read from Dawn's secret grimoire, breaking the clay seals of the angels in appropriate directions, a Tibetan singing bowl, and more chants. Page 32's ascending order of the chakra names with singing bowl and more chants. Oh, ascending of the chakra names with Ram a second time in place of Ah. The return must be what he really means, with the title on his YouTube page called How I Raised My Kundalini 70 Times, interview with Robert Bruce, and that's https://www.youtube.com/watch question v equals q underline x 3 lvdvalu
there's more to it than just saying something 70 times. It's like, imagine, I raise my Kundalini 70 times and I'm gonna say, sorry, gamma, padma, nisha, sorry, gamma, padma, nisha. Although that's better than do, re, mi, fa, sol, la, ti, do, re, mi, fa, sol, la, ti, do. So, lum, 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 lum. You know, and so on and so forth. As much as a person can have, the experiences in an hour or less on the first try, there are balances to obtain, are blockages to remove, or transform for it to go smoothly, or else we could just say, sorry, gamma, pa, va, ni, sha, or lum, vum, rum, rum, till you really get into it, and repeat till you can really feel it, and switch between the spots at will. The shape, it's harder to turn pages with these things. The shape, the overall sound forms is like a snake that has rainbow colors extending up from infrared to ultraviolet if you sense it. Sean, contorted with possession. I don't know. Maybe it was like Axl Rose's Snake Dance. I don't know. A weird light connected the 4 demons around them. The circle with a 9-foot diameter became as lava to them, but they survived. Cody and Dawn had seizures there. When it was over, they exorcised the circle with holy water and Catholic prayers to that effect. The ritual items were stowed away. The main 5 drunk absinthe, and they went out to eat. It was hard to eat. They were disturbed and confused by what they did. Would they ever forget and no longer explain what they did? The exorcism of Sean didn't work, as Christian exorcism doesn't work unless you're accepting terms of, oh, I can repent of this type of sin. That's the exorcism that I believe works. Three following days of exorcisms didn't stop whatever it was from hanging around him either. The marriage Matthew Lawrence had with Sean ended over the course of the next year, but it very well may have ended with the weird way she looked at him during the ritual. This led him to occult escapism even more. The whispers grew, and he did a blind evocation on February 2nd, 2010. Is all evocation blind evocation? It was Azazel. He was of a sort of fire that did not burn. He wasn't going to go away whenever his worshippers want, or probably won't show up necessarily when people want either.
Belial
remained with Sean. His sacrifice. Matthew Lawrence didn't need to make it explicit in order to be an implicit sacrifice. Supposedly, they wanted the same things. Matthew Lawrence was to call Azazel in the 10th hour, of the 12 hours of the night, sunset to sunrise, divide equally into 12 sections. The 10th hour is, so, just before dawn is when that starts. Oh, wait, no.
well, sort of. It's in the last third of the night, regardless. Matthew Lawrence was to call Azazel in the 10th hour to build his own
infernal empire
over the next 90 nights. Was he wrong? Can you get away with calling on an entity a couple times only? Infernal host. Like John Milton and Dante, provided much of the conception of
Lucifer
as a being for the public sense. So did Paradise Law. Oh, well, John Milton wrote Paradise Law. So did Paradise Lost by John Milton provide an image of grandeur and intenseness for Azazel in the mind of Matthew Lawrence. Azazel was mentioned long before the book of Leviticus, Awekira 16:8 through 10, and the book of Enoch, or Chanuk 8:1, 9:6, and 10:8 through 9. How was Azazel convincing people he didn't exist, and Satan convincing humanity that he no longer exists? Oh, he never existed. How was Azazel convincing people he never existed, and Satan convincing humanity that he no longer exists? An individual by any fitting name is still that same individual. After summoning Azazel at the 10th hour, it spoke of the real as reality, which is a delusion, and reinterprets scripture as more of a godlike than some Christians consider God to be. You know, the mentions of the demons are spoken in a way more exalted than your typical Christian is going to speak of God. The subjective and objective reality of Azazel was also spoken about in the following video, https://www.youtube.com/watch question V equals UWNRKTX UJRQ as the prophet of Azazel. Matthew Lawrence tells us how he has seen vast and varied legions of the
infernal empire.
One of the first ideas of deism is expressed here in presuming that a creative deity would be too aloof from creation to care to sustain it. The concepts of a spiritual battle, limited by Judeo-Christian terms, and the supposed words of Azazel on being set free on earth to be of use to spiritual masters. Does the
evil magician
play with subjective reality or objective reality, or is it the fallen angels? Could Matthew Lawrence really command any number of the
infernal hierarchy
and master all levels of himself? I would agree with Azazel that there is a reality behind the surface levels of the body, the mind, and even the spiritual realities known to E.A. Koetting. Sin and aspects of the flesh were the ways commanded to explore
the backwards tree.
I don't believe that he was to become an immortal, but by refining and other things, I think he may have been convinced that he was. Matthew Lawrence
denies the
infernal hierarchy
while seeming to affirm it as how the
infernal empire
operates. His 90 days of the pact led him along whatever hellish thing the demon wanted to expose him to, and Azazel had his complete trust. No one in their right mind would ever believe that they are the top of spiritual reality, including what they worship. The devils some side with don't necessarily stick with them from the beginning to the end of existence, but Eric Arcalas Koetting wants his followers to think repentance is impossible. Past the point is the fact that he supposedly used an authentic circle
of demonic pacts.
That point, the
Koetting circle of pacts
is a circle within a triangle with the names. Oh, well, the triangle within a circle. Yeah, a triangle within a circle. With the names Amsarak in the southeast, Azazel in the southwest, Akabek Rakabil in the northwest, Berkayal in the northeast. In the triangle is a Mercury sign with spheres as large as its circles attached to the ends of its horizontal bar, and a set of horns connecting to the top of its circle by a vertical bar. A censer is in the east of the circle. The southeast has human bones or nails from the coffin of an executed criminal. Goat horns in the southwest. The head of a black cat that ate human flesh is in the northwest rim. A male bat that drowned to death in blood is in the northeast. Now, if they're talking about arming a militia and all that stuff was not part of what was said before, that would be enough that I think the police should raid you if you, I fed a cat human flesh and I cut off its head. You announce that publicly, the police really kind of do have the right to search your property, and arrest you for whatever illegal drugs and guns you have. The real story about my detainments, that's the name of the thing. And the eastern sides of the circle are candles surrounded by wreaths. The other third of the triangle is a chi rho, X and a P in the middle, between two crosses. The pact. It may have been true that Matthew Lawrence's grandmother was a witch before it was either legal or whose existence was a common occurrence. I do not believe spiritual abilities inherited, for more reasons that I share when talking about Suratain 2 and 33, but he shares his views on hereditary witchcraft here. HTTP, is that the colon thing, the 2 dot thing? www.youtube.com/watch question B equals 6ZDK IGBGV3A. The spirits were the sources instead of books. But the book of Azazel, Grimoire of the Damned by Koetting, and his other works do not make it seem like a person can practice demonolatry or Satanism without books to teach you. Being active in the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints was not enough for him. I was part of that church growing up too. And I was, active in the church too. It wasn't just I went on Sunday and kind of forgot about it the rest of the week. But, it sort of seemed like it was enough for me at times. He started using Ouija boards and sneaking peeks at books on dark subjects at the school library that he didn't want other members of his church knowing that he read. The references to witchcraft and demonology taught that specific things needed to be done to successfully involve the demons. But did they? After telling us that he had an authentic
Koetting circle of pacts
are the circle
of demonic pacts.
Matthew Lawrence is in no position to accuse those who sacrifice kittens as fakes, murdering animals. It's not murder. I fed it human flesh first. And he even brags in one of his videos, I believe, about human sacrifice. And some people go to war for that purpose. I'm not pretending like these people out there, I want to kill you because you don't believe how I believe. No. But he makes it sound like he's taking part in multiple things, but he wants to seem like the most evil. This is the most evil spell. This is the most, in alliance with the demonic realms. There's... Oh, he's not Satanist. He's Luciferian. Come on, let's be real. Luciferian is enlightenment, but not necessarily satanic. In fact, it doesn't have to be satanic at all, but anyways. How can a person promote damnation in hell realms and then pretend it's not real? After distracting you from the idea of selling your soul being real and the results of those who don't get it back being real, he tells you that the Shayateen Minal Janut are the demons and their unfallen angel worlds are real. So he just doesn't want you to deal with the consequences of dealing with these realms. No, there's no consequence hereafter. It's reincarnation, that's what. But reincarnation is another way of saying hell and heaven and all that. The grimoires and manuals of forbidden magic may deceive you as to what the process of connection to the
Evil fire beings.
is, or it may just be the precise blasphemy and crime needed. Yes. So if you want to be a criminal, be a demonolator. There's supposedly that's a really get involved in criminal thing instead of being, oh, I made some mistakes, have to deal with it, whether in prison or not. It's like, and then there's those in prison. As soon as I get out, I'm going to commit worse crimes, or maybe I'm going to commit worse crimes in prison. Some people definitely do commit far worse crimes in prison than they do outside of prison. The symbols and items involved probably connect to each other. Instead of Father, Son, and Holy Ghost, Trinity, as Eric Arcalas Koetting. Eric Arcalas Koetting, for Eric Arcalas Koetting, the Trinity is Satan, the false prophet, and the Antichrist. The Cairo is seen as Chronos, or time. the beginning and end of, instead of either Jesus keeping you from hell, or Mars, Saturn, and Jupiter in Capricorn, or Aries and Taurus. About Virgo is kind of represented by the crossed legs, and Aries and Taurus kind of, as heads of rams and cows. The names are the archdemons Amsarak, the herbalist, Berkael, the teacher of divination by movements of the stars and planets, Akabiel, teacher of stellar and terrestrial secret knowledge, and Asaradel, the revealer of lunar secrets. He needed a new circle of pacts with Belial, Maimon, Abaddon, and Azazel as the names instead of those formerly on the skin of a young goat whose other remains were burnt after skinning it. The demon that seemed to appear with the rituals to follow, making the revised
Circle of demonic pacts.
waited around till Matthew Lawrence thought to declare his utter submission to it. Oh, no, religion, submission to God, and all that, and dedicating your life. And then you find out with demonolatry, oh yeah, you dedicate your life to Satan and follow the whispers and all that. I mean, who do you want to be a slave to? The demon that seemed to appear with the rituals falling around, it's all your submission to it. It would return after more detailed pact and further satanic rites. The demon touched the paper, and a circled pentagram crossed with a V and five symbols from right to left beneath appeared. Matthew Lawrence signed it in his own blood. And traced Azazel's signature on the paper. Three days later, a business contract from a year before was broken, and a job opportunity presented itself as a result of a previous interview. Was he standing in the way of the demons' promised well-being? Did the demons provide E.A. Koetting anything of the material world? He supposedly gave up on all worshipping that Azazel and the demons were not personally approving. Azazel's idea of empire differed from his in ways that are shared with us, and in those which are not.